Call to order, Town of Prescott Valley Regular Town Council Meeting, March 13th, 2025. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Keel.
Present.
Councilmember Freund. Councilmember Greer.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Zurcher.
Here.
Mayor Palguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I would like to welcome down Pastor Corey Ward with Quad City. Is he here this evening? I don't think I've seen him. Well, if you would please just stand if you can for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge. Thank you. Now please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to get approval of the agenda, and I believe Mr. Councilman Williams would like to have item 8C set aside for individual vote. So I'd like to approve the council by voice vote as we see it written, with 8C removed for separate consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, moving on to item 4A, U.S. Vets. Welcome, Brian Campbell. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and town staff, our community, and all of our veterans that are out there. My name is Brian Campbell. I'm the Executive Director for U.S. Vets. And this is a real exciting time for me because I get to be part of Prescott Valley today and talk a little bit about what we do. I'll keep it short, but I got a few slides that I'd like to run through. So our mission, for those of you that don't know about U.S. Vets, it's to end veteran homelessness. And on any given night, U.S. Vets here in our local area house 165 veterans through 18 of our different programs that we have. And the overall goal is to empower veterans and families through advocacy, housing, comprehensive services, and our community supports. Our vision is that all military veterans and their families shall have the needs met. And the whole point is to regain and maintain and be a productive person in society and get back to that next chapter that they're searching for. We have one of our big locations at U.S. Vets in Prescott is at Liberty Point. It's on 1040 Whipple Street. This is an overview of what our property looks like right now. We have 24/7 coverage. We have from activities, 3 meals a day in our full kitchen. We have outreach, workforce department, case managers, therapists, and we also have a director of behavioral health, program manager, and whatnot, and 40 employees. And we opened this site up in 2020. We've been with in Yavapai County anywhere for over 22 years now. And these are a lot of the areas that we're focusing on. We've realized that housing, stability, income, and in a big portion of our issues that we have here are transportation. And we've linked up with SIMPO, and we're building wonderful relationships to get veterans to and from employment, medical appointments, and also the VA transportation. These are some of what we do right now. Our flagship program is our VIP program. It's a grant per diem program from the VA. We have 72 transitional housing beds, and we have a transition in place. We have special needs beds for frail and elderly veterans, permanent supportive housing, long-term supportive housing. We deal a lot with veterans that are in transition that are having a tough time just making rent. So we have some rapid rehousing, and then MST, some military sexual trauma, workforce development to get our brothers and sisters back in the fight, and suicide prevention via our suicide prevention grant, which is the Staff Sergeant Fox Suicide Prevention Grant. We also have a wonderful relationship with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Department for the reentry program. And we have an aftercare program that allows us to have full wraparound services. So when the veteran comes in and then they leave transitional housing, we get them into permanent housing, and then we still have that unique connection with them to provide case management services to ensure they're still taken care of. And then outreach services, group and individual counseling. So this is pretty exciting for us right now. For everybody that knows the VA site, we've got our Fort Whipple project. So they're up on top. We were part of an EUL, an enhanced use lease that was approved by Congress. That gave us 6 of these officer quarters that are in the early 1900s. We're refabbing those. We've already broke ground in December. And this site right here will house 23 veterans. It's permanent housing for senior veterans. And it's going to start in January of 26. And then we have a site just right on the bottom of the hill, still on the VA campus. That's going to be 80 single occupancy rooms and 84 HUD-VASH vouchers. That's going to be completely dedicated to the veterans that have lower income and some of the higher needs. And we're in property management with Gorman and Associates, and we're going to be doing all the supportive services. This is overall what it's going to look like. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to have an amphitheater, dog walk parks, plenty of parking. We're going to have bands. We throw bands, all the time. And then just really trying to make sure that the veterans are comfortable in the therapeutic community that we have. 2024's impact, we served 485 veterans, 112 we were able to find permanent housing for. 68 veterans received employment. 27,890 total bed nights is what we serve for the veterans. And then 63,672 meals were served just last year on our site at at Liberty Point. So what my team does with the 40 employees, we truly believe in wraparound services. And, overall, I believe that my vision is to have a footprint here in Prescott Valley. It's a wonderful community. I live down there in Dewey at the Prescott Country Club. And so I frequent this area a lot. There's a lot of veterans. There's a lot of need. And I'd love to be able to, partner with the community that we have here. I appreciate the support that you've given me. Mayor, thank you. Council members, have a wonderful evening. And that's all I have.
Brian.
Thank you.
I'll say thank you for what you do for the veterans in our community. And I know you also have a home, which is the closest to Prescott Valley as possible over there on Starlight, on the west side of Starlight, that it benefits veterans as well. So again, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their name with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. Clerk?
Steve Karos, Javne Zaboski, Patricia Betzold, and Isabel Saracides.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Steve Karos. Is this on?
Oh, I forgot to mention that, sir. You already were working on it. State your name and the town you live in, please.
How about this one? Okay, Steve Karos, Ridge Rider Trail. I have some good news. According to New York's In Style magazine, denim on denim is making a comeback. Unfortunately, some on council don't realize it never left our particular Western heritage locale. I learned a long time ago while raising my sons an important axiom. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. This certainly applies to government grants, as they so often come with strings attached. Recently, I attended 2 meetings where this was evident. The first was regarding affordable, attainable housing. Prescott Valley has accepted a grant, and what we got was a one-sided consultant program out of Phoenix that is 100% social engineering. By the way, Prescott Valley town government has absolutely no business getting involved in affordable, attainable housing. The second one was a workshop regarding improving the center portion of town. One of the consultants actually presented appropriate drafts of proposed signage. These were Western Mountain stone with wood trim pitch affairs that match a number of downtown structures and are actually quite attractive. Unfortunately, one councilwoman declared that she prefers a futuristic look for PV and referenced this very building. Of course, some people refer to it as the George Jetson Memorial Library, and others, the Leaky Towers. And I wrote this before I came in here and saw it's leaking again. Meanwhile, the Glassford Hill Arch over the mayor's proposed urban destination is better suited in downtown Disney or on Hollywood Sunset Boulevard. There's a good reason why so many people say, don't California our Arizona. Town staff and council pay a tremendous amount of focus on the 25,000 people who don't even live here yet, but oh so little on those of us who already do live here. At this rate, will the Phoenix consultants bring with them the ubiquitous accident attorney billboards every 100 feet, as we see in Phoenix? This is the bottom line. Is it a sin for PV residents to prefer an upscale community to a sea of cheesy rentals and all of their negative impacts? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I believe, were you when the name's called? Were you called, sir?
Javne Sabowski,
Sorry, sir. Jave?
Patricia Betzold, and Isabel Saracades.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hello. Dear Mayor and council members,
I'm sorry, ma'am. State your name
Patricia-
and, I'm sorry, state
Yeah,
your
I
name and
apologize.
where you live.
Patricia Betzold, Chino Valley now. Dear council members and mayor, this is regarding the Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee and the staff nomination for Sandy Griffiths. Sandy Griffiths' involvement in this advisory committee would bring undue influence and redundancy. As chair of Prescott Valley's Planning and Zoning Committee, Sandy's input will come into play later when the results of the work performed by the advisory committee is completed, if and when it goes to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Sandy's role as an executive director of the Yavapai County Contractors Association is, and I quote their website, dedicated to furthering the ever-changing construction industry. The YCC site provides a list of various contractors, but there is no grading as in Better Business Bureau, no Yelp-like comments, and no recommendations. It does not guarantee performance, and if you call for help with a contractor, they will refer you to the Arizona Register of Contractors, which actually manages and publishes the licensing, bonding, and insurance of contractors, as well as processing claims. The mission of the YCCA does, however, state that it promotes, and I quote, political action and networking for the benefit of its members, not the community, but for the contractors, and that represents a conflict of interest. Her show, Hammer Time, interviews experts in remodeling for the most part. Her columns showcase YCCA members and provide homeowners with some information on home remodeling. But Sandy is not an architect, not a contractor, not a planner. In fact, it is unknown what Sandy would bring to the table in this case and why she would be interested in volunteering for the advisory committee other than owning the Yavapai County Contractors Association. Sandy's comments on the Planning and Zoning Commission have not been significant. In fact, most are based on building department issues and not planning and zoning issues at all. If her voting record is noted, it is almost always supportive of moving forward with the project no matter what public concern. It is, in fact, this commitment on Sandy's part to move forward a project no matter what that does not align with our commission on the Citizens Recreation Facility Advisory Committee to identify the needs of the community, to see all the opportunities to fulfill those needs, and then create a path forward to achieve a solution that is most satisfactory to all. I respectfully submit that Sandy Griffith be removed from consideration as the member of the Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Isabel Saracades, Viewpoint, 16-year resident. Mayor and council, I'm here this afternoon to speak about the individuals selected to serve on the town's Recreation Facility Committee. It's disappointing that the town's application questionnaire did not reflect compliance with Code of Conduct standards. Groups such as these need to be able to work well together and to be free from conflict of interest, and maintain a respectful, positive, and productive environment. The selection is also stacked with several of the Parks and Recreation Commission members. When I served on the Glassford Hill Advisory Committee, there was an individual who also happened to be on the Parks and Recreation Commission who was always visibly agitated whenever someone made an opinion different from his own. While that's not problematic to some, I had the unexpected experience of this man's outbursts after a meeting. He personally mocked me for my opinion of passive recreation on Glassford Hill. Bullies who intimidate others cause people not to want to serve and apply for future committees. Now, some of you may be thinking that he has his freedom of speech. However, let's be clear. Incitement, defamation, fighting words, and truth threats are not protected speech. Regardless, council has a higher standard and should not be fostering an environment where volunteers are subjected to hostility and provocation. The recently adopted Code of Conduct was established as a guide to govern and foster a culture rooted in setting clear expectations for integrity, impartiality, and avoiding conflict of interest. The code strives for a creation of a positive and productive environment and expectations of civility, void of hostility, intimidation, and harassment. It includes verbal or written use of vulgar, coarse, or otherwise inappropriate language. Council made a commitment to the Code of Conduct. Council has an obligation to select individuals who are respectful and can work together effectively in a productive manner. Show that you meant what you agreed to and remove Mr. Eric Tetro from the Advisory Committee and the Parks and Rec Commission based on his hostility, inability to work well together with others as a team, and the disgraceful and public attack of a sitting council member. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk?
We have two more registered, Alfred Perryman and Nicole Weber.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Alfred Perryman. I live here in Prescott Valley. I'm the president of the HOA. Of Victorian Estates. I apologize. I was trying to make 12 copies, but my printer decided it was time to error, and it takes a technician to fix it. Read each step. I'll try to go through this pretty quick. They're on the first picture, or on the first copy, it shows the layout of Victorian Estates. It shows a red area that's marked over on the left-hand side. That's the part I'm bringing to the issue. It's an area that didn't get mowed this year. For the last 6 months, I've been to City Hall a dozen times. I've been to ADOT. Prescott Valley says it's ADOT. ADOT says it's Prescott Valley. So I get this. Plus, I get a call saying, I'll call you back. I'll call you back. My phone's not ringing. So on that area that shows, it's an area that's full of nothing but Johnson grass and weeds. You'll also note it butts up to a house on Regent Street. On the second picture, it shows a little better view of it, layout. Then on the third picture, you'll see a cedar tree that hangs off over the top of the wall. That area has always been mowed. There's a company that you hire called Sweep Away. If you'll notice on the picture down along the guardrail, they made one sweep down it, one sweep back. Never did nothing else. That area has always been cleared and trimmed all the way up, clear over to the next, which is the entrance to Crossroads, the shopping center. This year, nothing. I started making phone calls. I even got a work order. Then I came up and asked about the work order, and I got the note, it's denied. No reason, just denied. Nothing at all. Want to know why? Denied. Give me a reason. Who's responsible? Don't know. Two gentlemen from Prescott Valley comes out, they look at it. I'll call you back. Man from ADOT. Oh, I'm meeting with Prescott Valley. I'll call you next week. Still no phone call. Look at the pictures. It's a fire hazard right up against that house. If that catches, that house is gone. With the houses next to each other like they are in California, that Victorian Estates is history. Now let's use a worst case scenario. You'll notice I put on there the fire exit or the emergency exit. If a fire truck comes in, it's going to park where I took a picture. That's the exit to Victorian Estates. If a two fire trucks come, he's going to park up there where the exit is. They're blocked. Our third exit, that's another battle one of these days. That'll I'll be standing here again.
All right, sir, hopefully the clerk has your information, and Mr. Davidson will be reaching out to you. Mr. Davidson will be reaching out to you, the town manager, to go directly with you. I promise you, you will receive a phone call. And let's figure out what the problem is, sir. So our goal is to make sure that you don't have to worry about coming back here to tell us that nothing's being done. So thank you for taking the time this evening.
Do I need to see you?
Sir, if we have your number, I'll make sure we call you.
Clerk, who's our next speaker?
Nicole Weber.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. I live at 6606 East Sandhurst Drive in Granville, and I came here 2 years ago. I love my neighborhood. I walk every night. I'm so happy to be in Prescott Valley. When I first came, there was absolutely no noise. I'm about 3 streets in on Sandhurst, and but I needed to replace my windows because they were single pane. So a year ago, I replaced all my windows with Anderson, really nice windows, and I thought the noise problem was over. But Glassford Hill is getting to be bigger and bigger. And so what I would ask the mayor and the council to look at is a noise barrier, something that would help the neighborhood stay intact. Because at this point in time, a lot of people are selling. I don't want to sell. I want to stay there. I know a few of you live there and you're my neighbors. I would be willing to serve on a committee to look at appropriating some money for a sound barrier so that we can keep Granville, and so that I can stay here. I also know that many of my neighbors cannot afford to move, as I can't. And so we have nowhere to go. So we either can live with being on a freeway inside our house, or we can get your help. And like I say, I'm willing to put the time in. I do have a background in public works and 20 years knowledge in government. If you want my help, I'm there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk, anyone else?
No one else, Mayor.
Thank you. Next up, council comments and communications. Councilman Williams, start to my right.
Can I mention something about Mr. Campbell, the U.S. Vets person? Or was that out of order?
Comment on,
Yeah, I was wishing he would stay at the microphone. Are you a Marine, sir?
Yes, I am.
Well, I wish, yeah, there you go. This is an incredibly patriotic town, as you know, and I wish I could say hoo-ah or semper fi, but I was Air Force. We don't have any cool catchphrases in the Air Force, but thank you so much for what U.S. Vets is doing across the country. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Mr. Davidson, you're up. Manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just the monthly report will be finalized next week, and we'll be sending that to you and available to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. So right now, council, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8A, 8B, 8D, and 8E in one vote. Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve all items listed under the consent agenda with the exception of agenda item 8C by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
that passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. So next up, item 8C, 2025 Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee selection. Mr. Williams, floor is yours. Councilman Williams, the floor is yours.
Thanks for letting me pull the 8C item. I've got 3 total motions related to Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee because I have some serious concerns. I think from the get-go, we had a poorly constructed questionnaire that does not allow us to get to the issue of what experience do all the applicants have that they can bring to fore, so that we're putting our absolute best people out in the community or having the community meet them so we can figure out what the town wants in terms of an aquatic center. I view this as a board or commission because of the depth of responsibility. I think this is the most important committee ever to be assembled in town history. We know that the gold-plated Cadillac version of the aquatic center could be approaching $49 million, and that all the messaging leading up to that, including the fact that we may need a property tax or sales tax increase, makes this a very special committee that needs very talented people. I don't think we know enough about most of the applicants' backgrounds and experiences, and that knowledge is extremely important. So my first motion will go like this. I'm motioning that town staff reach back out to all of the applicants that thank them, but tell them that we would like to see a resume that provides more information on their experiences related to how that will help the committee. Here's some more rationale for that. Maybe we ask them for a reference and a phone number. If someone wants to join the Board of Adjustment or Planning or Zoning, most often they attach a resume. And many of those have references with phone numbers. As I said, this committee is probably the most important one in the history of the town when you think of what we're trying to do. So, as I said, we're talking about $49 million possibly on an aquatic center. So you have my motion. Let me restate it. I'm motioning that the town staff reach back out to all the applicants, thank them, but tell them that we would like to see a resume that provides more information on their experiences related to how that will help the committee.
Councilman Williams, we're not taking motions at this time, but we'll circle back around procedurally at the end. Okay. Councilman Freund.
Thank you, Mayor. I also have some concerns, but I addressed my question to Mr. Legler, the town council. Would this rise to, since this is a personnel matter, would this rise to the level of perhaps having an executive session as a personnel matter?
It could be considered an executive session,
All
but
right.
not today, obviously.
Yes, so I guess I would ask the mayor and council if that would, if we could consider maybe doing it in next week or something like that, on a short, short term, pretty soon.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I would need to, as we learned today in our training, it would have to be related to a particular person that has been recommended. So the purpose for the executive session would be to discuss whether that particular person should be included. So what we have right now is a list of names, and you've got 3 votes that have been proposed, either adopt these folks or adopt a different list or don't take any action at all. And if we were going to consider this in an executive session in a later meeting, it would have to be related to a particular name. And we would have to give that person notice that they had been, that they would be discussed in an executive session, and they'd have the option of not doing, asking us not to do that in an executive session.
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
I also had concerns about this list. I was contacted by some individuals sharing concerns. And one of the concerns was 25% of this new commission would be with Park and Rec commissioners. And so my thought was, I understand that each council member got to appoint an individual, which, makes sense. I like that. But possibly, instead of staff appointing the others, maybe our commission appointment committee would be able to go through those and select members based on the applications received.
Councilwoman.
So we have a majority vote here with having 4 new members deciding on certain things that maybe that they don't like either. And I have an issue with that because we do have freedom of speech in America and people have opinions. And I think when somebody comes forward to serve on a committee or doing something like this citizens committee that has been brought about, you have to look at, I know you're saying looking at background, but a lot of the people that do serve on these committees or even on Parks and Rec or something like that, they do so for the reason that they've been here quite a while and they're not trying to control what's happening in our town, but they're concerned citizens of what's happening in our town. So when you're saying that somebody, because they have a job with the building department or something like that, that they don't have an opinion or they can't make just decisions because of what they know, I think that that's kind of taking it a little bit too far for trying to control how the outcome could be with this committee. This was set up by for the citizens to be able to volunteer, to come in, give their opinions. It doesn't mean that it has to go forward with what they're trying to accomplish, but they're trying to get a temperature of the entire community and not just of one committee or a section of people. I've had a lot of people talk to me and say, I work full-time, I'm raising my kids are involved in sports, I don't have time to serve on a committee, but here's my opinion. And their opinion may not be my opinion, but I'm hearing them out. And I've heard a lot of people say, take another survey of town. Well, to me, the survey takers are the ones who have the time to take the surveys. I hear all these times that say, oh, this survey was taken. I don't have the survey in front of me. I don't get called for doing a lot of the surveys that are out there in the public. So I just wanted to express that as well, that these people came forward. We were told as a council that we could nominate somebody for a position that had come to us and maybe requested us to do that. And I think that it's trying to go forward for having a checks and balances, having both sides be represented and not just one group. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Skylar, can you just very briefly just explain the process and what the goal of the group is?
Sure. So the goal of the group, the committee, is community engagement, bottom line. Of course, it's to determine how and what will be within the recreation facility. The application process started immediately after the resolution for the bylaws was approved by council. There was a 2-week-long open application process, ended on February 28th. We received about 22 applicants. 2 of those were appointed by council, so those were not considered in the selection process, and 1 withdrew, so we had 19 applicants. The selection criteria, we did select that based off of what the goals and the priorities are for the committee. So first, there were 5 criteria. First was interest. That's passion, interest in the project and being on the committee. Second was experience. So that's professional experience, recreation, construction, project management, finance. Those are good examples of what experience looks like. Third is community involvement. So that's like board experience, volunteer experience, experience on similar committees or commissions. Fourth is community engagement. So what's their capacity to engage the community and are they willing to do that? And then fifth is broad participation. So having different demographics, different perspectives and professions that represent our community on there. And for that, we did have a multi-department selection committee. So we had different representatives and leadership from different departments to select those based off of that criteria.
Thank you, sir. So the goal is to have a diverse group. Do you feel you've met that goal?
Yes, the group is representative of our town.
Which I think is very important when you have a committee such as this. One thing that's not in question is the goal of the group. The goal of the group is to try to figure out a plan for us to get an aquatic center or a YMCA in Prescott Valley and what that funding source is. So everyone should be like-minded going in that direction. Hopefully everyone can start working together and moving in that direction. And obviously staff is going to be participating and kind of basically guiding this group along. So that's definitely what we're looking for. As we've heard tonight, there's multiple different thoughts and ideas on what we should be doing with the group. Instead of breaking it down, let's first start off with if the council majority is comfortable with the group that staff has put together, and if they are comfortable with that, then there's nothing else to discuss. If they're not comfortable with that, then we can circle back through and give staff some direction. So this time, I'm going to make the initial motion to appoint the listed members of the 2025 Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee as presented by staff in our council packet. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Mayor, and before we vote, can we get some further discussion? Because I think, other members did have some comments and, motions. So I definitely think that would be appropriate because this is I think this is a premature motion. I'd like to hear, the other motions. I think that would be.
And from what I understand, Mr. Legler, if we were going to discuss for example, Councilman Freund's motion to go into executive session, we have to have a list in order to discuss, to remove a person.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I believe that a point of order has really been made, just asking for more discussion. And so the question is, can we go ahead and follow through on that point of order and then
Yes, sir.
go from there?
So do you have anything to add for that, sir?
No.
Vice Mayor?
The goal is to definitely eventually get an aquatic center or YMCA. We have a diverse group of individuals who have been picked and selected. However, I know and I've heard there is definitely some angst, with regard to some members that have been selected either by council or by staff. I think it may not be a bad idea to table this at least until the next meeting. Possibly, I actually agree with Councilmember Keel on basically possibly getting the board selection committee together to look at a few things just to be on, the safe side. I definitely think that is not a bad idea. And I think tabling this possibly until the next meeting, letting the committee actually just review a few things just to help smooth things over, I think would not be a bad idea.
Any other comments?
As a further point of order, Mayor, I pulled 8C out of the consent agenda. It's really my turn. It's not your turn. I have 3 motions.
Mr. Legler, you want to weigh in on that?
Mr. Mayor, normally we do go with the first motion that's been made, but you had indicated that you wanted to go ahead and give everyone an opportunity to speak first.
Correct.
And so the point of order that we're working on now is the opportunity for everyone to speak. Then I think we're ready for a new motion by someone. I don't believe, you indicated that first motion was premature. A point of order has been made now about your motion, and so essentially your motion is also premature.
I'll withdraw my motion,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so basically we're still in a discussion mode.
Vice Mayor wants to bring it back in a short, timely manner. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no problems addressing it a little bit deeper on a one-on-one, as long as we can all agree that we're going to move forward by the end of the month with a council vote so this group can get forward and actually get working on what they need to do. I'm okay with entertaining that motion. But Mr. Williams, if you'd like to make a motion, we'll see if you have a second.
Yeah, it's my turn, Mayor. You're out of order. I get
Councilman
three
Williams.
motions because
Councilman
I told you I
Williams.
was going to make three motions.
Councilman Williams, you can make a motion.
Okay, the first of three is I'm motioning that town staff reach back out to all of the applicants, thank them, but tell them that we would like to see a resume that provides more information on their experiences related to how that will help the committee.
Is there a second? Seeing none, let's hear your next motion.
As you heard from Isabel Cercedes of the Prescott Valley Citizens Alliance, they have identified many reasons why Eric Tetrault does not belong on this committee. Serious reasons questioning his character and ability to serve with impartiality and respect for all citizens. I endorse the PVCA point of view. So for all the reasons cited by the members of Citizens Alliance, I am motioning to have Eric Tetrault removed from the Citizen Recreation Facility Advisory Committee. And I stand by and I'll wait until I can make my third motion. Thank you.
Do we have a second? Seeing none, go with your third. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. There is a second. So the second is to remove a person from the list.
Motioning to have Eric Tetrault removed from the Citizens Recreation Facility Advisory Committee.
And the reason?
For the reasons cited by the Prescott Valley Citizens Alliance representative, which included many reasons why Eric Tetrault does not belong in the committee, serious reasons questioning his character and ability to serve with impartiality and respect for all citizens.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, Councilwoman. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So just for clarification, with that motion, that is simply removing one person and a motion to accept the others. I did not hear, so I'm a little lost.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we have three, as we normally do, we have three proposed motions in the agenda. You don't have to use those motions. You can always make another motion. So you've got a motion in front of you. Once that motion is voted on, then we would be ready for other motions that we would need tonight to decide who is going to be on the committee.
So with that being said, I think if we established a list, as Councilman Keel mentioned, and we brought that list back, then I feel like that would be a good motion to make at that time if you wanted to specifically remove a person for whatever reason that may be. So I believe that's not what we need at this time. We still need to vote on the list before we're pulling people from the dais for whatever reason that may be. I think there needs to be more of discussion between council members if that is the case. With that also being said, I believe someone also spoke up that one of the reasons that this person should be removed is because they spoke poorly about one of the council members. So last time I checked, folks, being an elected official, being appointed to a commission doesn't remove your First Amendment right. How would you all feel if I came in at the next council meeting and said, anyone that has come up and called the public, therefore spoken bad about myself, other council staff, the town of Prescott Valley, that makes you ineligible to sit on a commission? What would you all say? You would say, that's ridiculous. Why can't I get up and speak my opinion about my government, which you have the right to do? So we cannot punish someone for that. So to just say that right now up here, I just don't know if this council wants to go down that road of removing a person because they said something that someone didn't agree with. Because at the end of the day, folks, just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't make them wrong. So with that being said, I believe we have a motion to remove someone.
And a second, and you're out of order, sir. You're way out of order.
Clerk, please call the vote. This is to remove a person from the list for speaking out, just to be clear.
You misstated my motion.
Council, I'm sorry, clerk, we have a vote?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Freund, that motion did not pass.
Do we have another motion?
Yes. We heard loud and clear from Patricia Betzold regarding the appointment or non-appointment from Sandy Griffiths. He pointed out several valid concerns about this person, and I concur and endorse Patricia Betzold's statement. In addition, I foresee Sandy Griffiths' conflict of interest when one is representing carpenters, concrete men, electricians, and others. He also told someone to walk away from the microphone when they wanted to comment at a planning and zoning commission, because in her words, this is on the video, she said, "I know what you're going to say, and you're not going to be allowed to say it." This is a lapse of judgment. Within hours of that comment, including the video, it became evidence in an open meeting law complaint made to our state attorney general. She shows poor management skills and a bias towards whoever that taxpayer was. So for all of Patricia's reasons and mine, here's the motion. I motion to have Sandy Griffiths removed from the Citizens Recreation Facility Advisory Committee.
Again, as we motioned before, or we discussed before, I don't think it's appropriate that we go one by one down the list, talking about individuals in a personnel type manner that Councilman Freund pointed out we should probably be in executive session for. We can't just sit up here and start picking apart people, say, well, this person doesn't even live in Prescott Valley. Why should they be on it? That's not something that needs to be shared right here. We have individuals that want to be a part of a good group to do good things in Prescott Valley. And I feel like this is just politicizing it and almost embarrassing individuals who aren't even here to defend themselves. So with that being said, does someone have a second on this motion to remove Sandy Griffiths?
Mayor, if we were, is there any way that we could just withdraw that motion and go and postpone this, table it, or is that not possible?
At this point, we're going to look for a second. If there is no second, we'll keep doing another motion until we find one that we all agree with, and then go from there. And it may be to table it, but we'll just wait until this motion goes. So is there a motion to Councilman Williams? I'm sorry, is there a second to that? Councilman Freund? Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Williams,
Just to point out, I don't get any boxes for yay or nay on this screen, so I have to say yes verbally.
that motion did not pass.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table item 8C and actually until the next council meeting, and in between now and then, convene the board and commission selection committee.
To bring
I will
back the
second
list
that.
again?
That is, yes.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. To convene,
To convene and then to review the list and then, yes,
then present back to council.
that is correct.
And I second that.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Williams,
Negative.
that motion passes.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, item 9, old business, CMC 24-004, 4600 North Wagon Way. This is a second reading. Mr. Ruby.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, staff has nothing further to add on this zone map change. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Ruby? Seeing none, clerk?
Ordinance number 2025-950, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending the town zoning map, CMC 24-004, by changing the zoning classification of the property at 4600 North Wagon Way, APN number 103-28-479, from R1L10, residential single-family limited zoning, to RS4, residential and services zoning, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Clerk, shall this ordinance pass?
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10A, Mr. Danner, Agreement Auditorium Audio Video Upgrades. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I know there's a more exciting, probably, motion up here later on with Aldi. Everybody's excited about that. But I wanted to speak to you tonight about the auditorium here that we're in. I'm sure everyone here, you all as well as the audience would agree that the audio-video experience is a key part to any town meeting. I think we've experienced that. That technology, like all technology, is constantly changing, and therefore it's vital to ensure that equipment and options available for that experience are kept up to date. Most of the technology that's in the auditorium that we're in right now was installed during its original construction in 2009. And though that technology has been very reliable, in my opinion, it is showing its age. I'm going to show a slide kind of with some of the issues that I believe we've been having in here, and talk about them a little bit. So some of the issues that we've experienced that I think you would all agree with are outdated equipment, such as older projector technology and screens. As you can see, the screen to my right, that actually fell out of the ceiling a while back, and therefore we have not been using it for quite a while now. The projector equipment is original. The other two screens are original. They're not going to fall out as far as I'm aware. We haven't had any issues with them, so you can feel safe there. But that is obviously an issue. Second, members of the audience in certain locations are continuing to have difficulty hearing, especially when potentially people aren't speaking directly into the microphone. People in the back are having a harder time hearing them. We have a microphone option for taller speakers, as you can see right here, but we only have one. We'd like to get one for the other lectern as well. We're having compatibility issues with assisted listening devices, so those with those devices at times are having problems hearing as well. There's a lack of connectivity between the audio-video system and both online and video conferencing. As we saw earlier when I was trying to set this meeting up, it's often difficult for the person on the other end of a Zoom call to either hear you or hear me both at the same time. So that has been slightly problematic, as well as the fact that when we have meetings and we have somebody calling in on a voice line, we have to set up a small conference phone. So I'll speak to that a little bit as well. And then finally, we're having difficulty of lectern speakers seeing the countdown timer for public comment section. So when somebody's up here speaking during public comment time, you have to basically look up and to the left to see how much time you have remaining until the bell rings, obviously. In order to fix some of these issues, the IT department has collaborated with Level 3 Audiovisual to develop an improvement plan for this. The town has been working with Level 3 for a number of years. They are a trusted vendor. What you see in front of you is a proposal that they have put together with an action plan to take care of some of these issues. This has been done on an ASU cooperative purchasing agreement that has been run through finance and verified that it can be used. So what they have done, as you will see in the proposal, is they've broken this down into 4 parts. I'm going to kind of go through those and talk about them a little bit. The first is the audio updates that Level 3 would like to do. First of all, they're going to install an additional high-quality microphone for the second lectern so that we have these lecterns for the taller individuals at both lecterns. Secondly, they're going to install a crowd mic. What that's going to be is eventually, hopefully, if it's all approved, removal of the middle projector and putting a crowd mic in the same area. This crowd mic is got 8 lobes on it, which basically means that it's going to catch all parts of the audience for for that, for our recordings and such, so that people can hear the clapping and everything that's coming from the audience. That will be able to be turned off and on so that it's not picking up that normal chatter that might be in the audience. Third, there's going to be an updated assisted listening system put in. This is going to be a Bluetooth system called Listen Wi-Fi. It actually includes a mobile app that supports up to 500 users. So it will also include a couple of normal listening devices, but it will be an app that anybody with a smartphone will be able to Bluetooth into that app, and that will give them an upgraded listening experience during the meetings. Next, they're going to install an updated PA system with a multi-channel speaker array for highly directional sound and increased coverage. So what's going to happen is, instead of having these 3 speaker sets right here, we're going to have one speaker in the corner over there, which you might think, well, that's probably not going to give as good a sound. It's actually a speaker array which has multi-channel in it, and it allows you to you can point directional beams of sound at various areas of the auditorium so that you can control the sound level in all areas. So that will give greater sound in the back, the sides, everywhere, and you will be able to directionally point that. I just wanted to mention, I do have level 3 on a Zoom call, so they are listening, and once we get to the question time, they're going to assist me if you have any questions. Next, they're going to have full testing of that system to ensure proper balancing. So I think that the audio updates that they're doing are going to be very helpful for everybody that's here in the audience. The second piece of this puzzle is video updates, as you'll see there. What this is we're requesting removal of the existing projectors and mounts. So they'd be taking out all 3 projectors and mounts. We're going to leave the screens that are still remaining, but they will remain in a retracted position. So there won't be any, they're not going to be falling out of the ceiling or anything like that. This system is a dual 180-inch diagonal video wall from Nanolumens. So you see in front of you an example of that on the right. That is an example of a Nanolumens video wall. These are going to be 2 180-inch video walls. So instead of just the 2 that we have here, the one in the middle here is 222 inches. So these screens will be slightly smaller than that. But we believe that with the 1920 by 1080 full HD that they offer and better color saturation and everything, that this is going to be a great viewing experience for everybody in the audience. These video walls are rated at over 100,000 hours, so they will last a long time. And as I said, the remaining screens will remain in a retracted position. The third piece of this is a new countdown timer system. So as I mentioned, currently the countdown timer can only be seen up here on the left screen. This is going to be a system with a digital timer and controller that will be located at the town clerk dais position. She will be able to start the timer. There will be 2 other timers that are installed. One will be in front of the lecterns here, right, probably on the front part of the dais, so that speakers at the lecterns can see how much time they have left. It will include also a green, yellow, red light so they can see where they're at as well as the time. And then a third timer for that system will sit in front of the mayor's dais position so that he can see how much time is remaining. And then finally, the fourth part of this is conferencing capabilities. So as I discussed, we have issues with when somebody does a Zoom meeting that there are issues with hearing on the other end, having to choose which microphones we're using. So what we're doing here is installing a Zoom appliance to leverage existing equipment that we have, such as cameras and the speakers, for better functionality during the conference. There will be a dedicated dialer touch panel. There'll be a switcher for managing those camera sources so that we can actually use our existing cameras during the Zoom meetings. And then they're also including time in the proposal to help us incorporate our existing phone system, which is an IP-based phone system, network-based, so that we can make calls through our phone system straight through the audio system that we use here in the chamber. So we won't have to set up that additional conference phone and deal with the microphone on that. So that is the four main pieces that we are looking at. We're proposing that those funds for this project be taken from the fiscal year 24-25 that we're currently in contingency budget. We've also included that as part of our 25-26 budget, if you would prefer to do it that way. But we feel that the improvements, making those improvements sooner rather than later, will be a very desirable benefit for both staff as well as, more importantly, our citizens. And I'd be glad to answer any questions. And again, Level 3 is here to also help me if I can't answer those.
Council, you have any questions for Mr. Danner or Level 3? Councilman Freund.
Well, first, I want to preface it with a short compliment. Mr. Danner, I think you've done a great presentation, and it represents a lot of work in the background. I understand that. It's wonderful. I'm very thrilled. Ever since I've been on council, I've been urging Mr. Davidson to see if he could do something to improve the sound system here, and he's come through in spades, and you have. So that's great. I think it's a real big win, and it's something that so many people have noticed was a problem. So it's wonderful. It's probably obvious to you, but I have a simple question. So if someone's watching on a video feed, for example, YouTube, right now there's I don't know, maybe a 20-second delay. If people are remotely watching and participating, that the Zoom feature will take care of that? Will eliminate that?
Well, the Zoom feature is more for the actual Zoom conference calls that we might do. I'm going to let, potentially, is Ryan still with us? Or could somebody from Level 3 potentially answer that question?
Actually, Ryan had to drop. Casey, I can answer that. With what we're doing for the Zoom, this will make everything, like right now, we're having a hard time hearing you guys. So it would definitely, the far end, which is us, would be able to hear what's going on in the council chambers.
Well,
Council member, I will get
With
that
all the
answer.
new
I'll get that
audio
answer for you.
and Zoom
I don't have that
feeds that
right
we're
off the top of
doing.
my head as far as the delay in the recording that Channel 56 is doing, but I will certainly look into that.
When I attended the meetings electronically, I had that problem where the phone connection was real time, but what I was seeing was like 20 seconds delayed. And so if we could address that. And also with the single speaker location, I don't know if do you have any idea, this room is a little bit of an echo chamber.
Correct.
If that would help with that or how it would affect it.
I mean, we're always going to have issues in this room just because of some of the architectural designs and some of the just the sound issues that are going to be in a room like this anyway. But I believe that the speaker system and Level 3, please jump in if you can add anything. This speaker array, because we'll be able to have a greater control over the sound and where it's going and how loud it is in each area, I believe that's going to meet a lot of those issues.
And yeah, we did put in time in our proposal to come up a few times so that we could get the sound and audio dialed in good so everybody could hear But what we are proposing for the line array speaker is the best option for that room in that space.
Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
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 Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Casey, thank you for your hard work on this. And I shouldn't say elderly because I'm elderly, but when we get a row of speakers, wannabe speakers up here, you heard it loud and clear as well. Some of them had hearing aids and they'd come up to us later and go, please fix the sound. So thank you for working on this. In the packet, there's an itemized list of expenditures. Is there a way to project that sheet?
I don't have that currently on anything that I can project up here.
Can you state the main categories and the costs?
Sure. So the four sections, is that what you're speaking of? That are in the packet?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the four sections that we have are the audio updates, and all of these include equipment, labor, travel, shipping, tax for a grand total. So the audio updates that I spoke of are a total of $41,146. The Zoom functionality and telephone functionality is a total of $17,397.99. The countdown timer edition is $4,354.61. And then the video wall edition is the greatest cost because the video walls, that's an expensive kind of technology. That total is $132,183.73. So that would be totaling up to the requested amount of $211,649.97 for the complete project.
Is there any way we can trim these costs? 132 grand for a screen sounds a bit much.
Yes, this is broken down in such a way that you can approve any or all of it. It is completely up to you as a council to approve whichever you'd like. That's why I had it broken down that way, is so that you could look at it all together and decide which pieces or all of it that you wanted.
Appreciate that. So if we could find one that doesn't cost 132K and we know we would like a better screen, is that possible?
The problem is with that technology, that nanolumens technology on a video wall like that, that is a pretty general cost for that type of technology. I mean, we could look at replacing projectors, replacing screens again, but you're going to spend a pretty large amount of money for that as well. So it's really, again, up to you how you would like to go forward with that.
While the video wall requires a higher initial investment, they offer lower maintenance costs, improved performance, and a longer lifespan. The visual effect is more stunning as well.
But we could theoretically pick something that's less than 132K and improve this monitor here, right?
We could, Mayor, Council members, we could, if you decided to do that, we could go out and do research on different projector and screen options if that's what you would like to do.
Only if there's a significant savings of about 50,000, I think.
I'm not exactly sure without really looking into that different of an option, but I could certainly do that if that's what you, council would require.
I'd like to see some other prices on wide screens. I don't think we need a video wall. That's kind of a little bit Disneyland for little old Prescott Valley.
Councilman Freund.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Danner, I think that I suffer from a little sticker shock, but maybe it's just because I'm old fashioned. But on the other hand, I've spoken to a number of townspeople, and they all seem to be pretty much unanimous that we need this system and that we should go forward as soon as possible. So there's that. And also on the pro side of it, I think that there's going to be probably some more inflation. I don't think it's ended. And so I think that if we delay this, it may lead to further and higher costs going forward.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs or anything, but if we want to do this, then obviously now would probably be the time to do it.
Ms. Lamatis, do you have something? Was she trying to say something?
Cheryl, did you have something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just so you are aware, there are tariffs coming, on the video wall. So we would need to move quickly on that, and we would have to order it before the end of the month, to avoid tariffs. As far as video walls, we have them in the Yuma County, council chambers, Surprise, City of Surprise. So if there's any place that you'd like to tour, it's being installed right now at Yuma County, but we can also show you ones that we've installed.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman?
Casey, thank you so much for all of this presentation as well. I know we all try to plan for obsolescence, but that doesn't necessarily come about. This is a commercial quality piece of equipment that will last a long time. It's not like your home system where you're adding in a sound bar or upgrading to the newest TV being 4K or something. This is something that will be interactive for everybody who comes in, for other programs that are also here, so that when a church comes in, the church can also use this technology as well.
Correct.
So it's not just for council meetings. If it was just for council meetings, we probably could just ask everybody move forward and we can yell at you. I mean, that's not how it goes. So I know you want to take the time and maybe look for the best pricing on things, but I'm pretty sure that it is what it is when people are doing something of this magnitude in this commercial style. There's not choices of 150 different out there. There's maybe 4 or 5 that would be able to handle this type of velocity. So I thank you for all of your due diligence. I know that you are very conservative and very, you're on a budget and you know how to spend it. So I just want to say thank you, Casey, for all of your hard work.
Thank
For
you.
your whole-
I did want to let you know that we also, while we were doing this, did reach out to another vendor on a cooperative agreement as well and had them quote this. And they didn't believe, they felt that there were ways that they could do it without some of this. But I, like I said, we've been working with Level 3 for a long time. I really trust their knowledge and their experience in this realm, so.
Thank you, sir.
And it also comes with warranties and service, and they're going to back up
Yes,
the product. And
yes,
gonna
thank you.
be- They're going to install it. You know, there's a lot to this. It's not just, oh, we're buying a new TV.
Mayor and council members, thank you for mentioning that. This does also include full support of the system for a year, so that if there are any issues whatsoever, Level 3 would come up and immediately take care of them.
Casey, if it gets approved tonight, how long until it's completed?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. We plan on doing this in a phased approach. They will be taking care of the audio portions of this first. There are potential things that we need to deal with on the wall behind you to make sure that it's load bearing and all that kind of thing for these screens. So that part will be coming at a later date, closer towards the end of this fiscal year, beginning of next fiscal year. We're trying to make sure that we aren't interrupting your meetings at all, trying to do things. Some of this will probably happen in July with the screens when you're not in council. So, but it will be a phased approach. Audio will be definitely happening first.
Thank you.
One more quick comment, if I may, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Cheryl Lamastus's point of view on tariffs. One way to beat a tariff is to buy American.
Anything else?
I can't, was that addressed to me?
Ma'am, if you're able to respond, go ahead.
He was just speaking about tariffs and we could buy American.
You know, and Nanolumens is an American company. Like, I don't know exactly how tariffs are being involved.
I don't know how many TVs are made in America, to be honest, but. Vice Mayor?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to call the question.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve an agreement with Level 3 Audiovisual to implement the upgrade plan for the Auditorium audio video
The
system
components overseas, maybe.
and authorize allocation of $211,649.97 from the fiscal year 2024-25 non-departmental contingency funds budget to the plan.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Williams?
No.
That passes, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, 10B, PDP 24-005, Aldi Grocery Store, consideration and possible action. Mr. Ruby, welcome, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Ruby.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, this is an application for preliminary development plan for an Aldi's grocery store to be located actually south of, if we can get it for you, here we go. The general plan map indicates that the property is designated town center mixed use. It is within tier 1 of growth areas of Prescott Valley, and that allows residential and commercial projects. And it is encompassed and has been for the past 20 years or so in the town center master plan. Now, the project is located on a 2.37 acre site. It's a vacant parcel right now. We consider it an infill project, part of this Glassford Hill Marketplace plat. It's located again north of Kohl's and south of Walmart along Veterans Way. And the project, this is a site plan of the project. As you can see, the main entrance will be off of Veterans Way. The project will provide approximately 120 parking spaces, where 92 are required by the code. It is also, they're also proposing some electrical vehicle chargers from the applicant. Again, access will be off Veterans Way, and there'll be a loading dock at the rear of the building. This is a building elevation. There's approximately 12,645 feet of sales space. It will include an office and a break room. The building height is 28 foot 10 inches, where code allows 35 feet. For signage, the logo will be prominent at the entrance, as you can see from the elevations. This is the layout, the landscape plan for the project. On-site landscaping will have a 10-foot buffer on Veterans Way. All species will be drought tolerant and off of the Prescott AMA list. And additional landscaping will be provided around the building. As you can see, the loading docks are going to be landscaped as well. This will provide for additional landscaping on the project. Next steps for this project are actually to submit to development services for their building and engineering permits as required. Now, there's been several comments from town staff. The town engineer continues to work with the master developer for some site improvements, traffic improvements in the area. Drainage study will be required for the project as required by the town code. A water report will also be required. It is not in a floodplain, so the floodplain administrator was fine with that. The project will have to meet all CAFMA requirements, including sprinklers, things of that nature, fire hydrant locations. And there's several proposed conditions for the project, but prior to that, I'd like to just point out there's several goals in our general plan that identify this type of development. And if I can find those quickly, I will read them to you. If not, it basically talks about infill development. It talks about, the general plan says that goal GAA1, encourage infill development and revitalization in Tier 1, both of which this project adheres to. Goal LUA4, states to maintain a variety of commercial uses, neighborhood, community, and regional serving to meet the shopping needs of residents and visitors. The applicant and his agent are here, and they'd be glad to answer any questions as well as myself. And staff is recommending approval. And I think it's an exciting project for the town. It's one of the things that was high on the list in the citizen survey is to add grocery shopping to the town. With that, I will conclude and respond to any questions you might have. The applicant and his agent are both here.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments for Mr. Ruby? Councilman Freund.
Again, just with the sound system, I'm thrilled, and tonight, now I'm thrilled again. I think the townspeople have called out for years. They've been begging for another supermarket, and I'm so happy to see this happen.
Do the applicants have a timeline on what they expect? Or will they be waiting on us for permit approval, or when will you start moving dirt?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. First, I want to thank you for considering our proposal, and I want to thank city staff for their support of the project. Unfortunately, at this time, I cannot provide a specific time frame for an opening because that hinges on our distribution center in Arizona. The opening for that is yet to be determined.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anything else? That being said, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2025-2412, approving preliminary development plan PDP 24-005 for an Aldi grocery store in the Marketplace North Commercial Center by electronic vote.
I second.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10C, dividing community service development. Mr. Davidson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's pretty self-explanatory in the staff report. So the departments had originally been separated. They were merged together in 2021. At this point, we're recommending that we separate them out. The library and Parks and Recreation have a whole host of different needs and activities, and having staff that's fully focused in those respective areas, I think is really important going forward. So I'd recommend that approval of this.
Any questions for Mr. Davidson?
Quick question. By splitting them up, we aren't going to need to add new supervisory positions, are we?
No, we're not adding any additional staff as part of the separation.
Any other questions for Mr. Davidson? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2025-2411, dividing the Community Services Department into two separate departments for Parks and Recreation and Public Library by electronic vote.
Have a second?
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Final item, council attendance policy. Mr. Legler, are you leading us off?
Mr. Mayor and Council, as you see in the staff report.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we have two motions on that item.
Sorry.
Good catch.
I'd like to make a motion to read ordinance number 2025-951, amending the town code to account for, wrong one, sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion to read ordinance number 2025-951, amending the town code to account for, this is still the Parks and Rec. Is that what it's saying?
I second.
Hang on a second. Is that a good enough motion, clerk? Mr. Legler? Anybody?
This was the second motion on the first reading of the ordinance.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to read ordinance number 2025-951, amending the town code to account for a separate Parks and Recreation Department by title only on two separate occasions, then place the same on final passage by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, call the vote, please.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Ordinance number 2025-951, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending section 10-02-040, town parks, playgrounds, and outdoor recreational areas, rules and regulations, and Article 10-02, town property, and Chapter 10 offenses of the town code to reflect the newly created Parks and Recreation Department, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the town code not herein repealed, reenacted, or amended shall remain in full force and effect, providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provisions shall not be affected but shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for keeping us in line. Mr. Legler?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you see in the staff report, staff was requested to put on a study, not a discussion item on this regular meeting, to talk about attendance at council meetings by technological means. Back during COVID, when we were faced with the prospect of potentially having meetings only electronically, a resolution was adopted by the council that gave a great deal of flexibility in terms of how we would do meetings, both the way the public would attend and the way council members would attend. Because that lasted quite a while, it didn't go away immediately. We went ahead and amended the code to allow for that to happen. But broad language was used so that there would be lots of flexibility as to how that might be done. Now that we don't have that, the question has been asked, how in the world will we actually do it? And will there be specific ways that we'll do it or specific circumstances in which we would do it or not? Right now, the language is very broad that would basically allow council members to participate by technology. So 3 council members have asked that this opportunity be given to the council to have just a general discussion, no vote, no particular action, but are there some things that we should put in the code to make this more specific, more detailed in terms of how it would be done? And staff has gone ahead and given you a draft to look at, but we want you to know that we simply looked at what other communities do, took that as a possibility and put that there for your discussion. It is not intended as what you might adopt later on.
Thank you, Mr. Legler. You were using the word broad, and yes, it was very, very broad and up for interpretation. And I think we need to tighten this down as clean as possible. And my thoughts on that are that council members should be able to call in and vote only in the event that we have an emergency that is clear, that you have directed either the mayor or the vice mayor to sign, saying that there is an emergency, it's not a planned council meeting, we need you to call in so we can make a decision. Other than that, I feel it should be more like how it is at Congress and the Senate, right? If you're present, you get to vote. If you're not present, you don't get to vote. So depending on whether that item is important to you, they make an effort to show up to council. And then it's clean and very clear on who is voting. Because otherwise, in there, it talks about how the mayor decides if it's an excused absence or not an excused absence. We throw all that out. And basically, if you want to come and fulfill your duties as a council person and an elected official, you make the effort to show up and vote if it's that important to you. If it's your grandma's 80th birthday and you can make it to that, or you have to make it to that, it's okay, we understand. We'll still have a quorum. As long as we have a quorum of 4 individuals, council work can continue. So I think it makes it easy to understand. We're not deciding who thinks it's a personal emergency. To one council person may not be a personal emergency to me. So that makes it easier to decide if it's excused or unexcused. It's an absence. If you're here, you're present. If you're not, you're absent. And then by being here gives you the right and the privilege to vote. That's just my thought on it. Anybody wish to add more on that?
I would like to also add that this way it's not something that gets abused for somebody just saying, well, I didn't feel like coming in today. We want to make sure that people are here doing their job, and that is why we are representing the public. And I agree. It's something I think you should be doing in person, and I know that we can do it via FaceTime or something, you know, but anyway, I just want to make sure it's not getting abused. Thank you.
Putting you on a spot now. I have no one else to ask.
I can agree with that. You know, as long as there's a quorum, we're fine.
Staff, is that enough direction?
Can I get any sense from you as to whether the draft that you do have there, does that seem to meet what I'm hearing you say?
And for the most part, I believe it does. Unless I'm missing something on that.
We'll go ahead and bring it forward then.
Thank you, sir. We are at the end of our meeting this evening. Is there anything else, council, we wish to add onto the agenda? Or at least not add it to the agenda, but comment in regards to anything? With that being said, thanks for coming out. Thanks for braving the snow. Have a great night. Drive safe.